We're those guys. You see these guys over there? Well, don't forget about those guys. I'm Alex Hardy, joined as always by former 10-year NFL safety Nick Ferguson, repping Mile High, your Denver Broncos, pulling out a tough one against the Vegas Raiders. But hey, I'm gonna stand back here because there was a team that also won 11 games that had trouble with them quite a few months back. Hey, Nick Ferguson, what's going on, my man? Week 14, we're finished.
Week 14 is now in the books, and for some people, they're already booking their flights for the offseason, but other teams, no. They are still at the facilities getting ready to finish out the season on a positive note.
Cancun on 3, Nick. The positivity bunny that graced the presence at the Eagles facility throughout this week. I think we'll be making a departure to Cancun. The Philadelphia Eagles fall to the LA Chargers. We're joining you immediately following Monday Night Football. 22 Chargers, Eagles 19, an overtime thriller that included, I think, 6 turnovers in the first half. Jalen Hurts responsible for 5 in the game, including the game-sealing interception. Another toe-tapping sideline masterclass from Tony Jefferson, who I'm pretty sure at this point was in the league when you were, Nick. I mean, the man is fighting back father time. I say this admitting he's probably not even 35 yet. So I kid. I joke. But nonetheless, the Chargers, you thought they were going to find another way to Charger. However, they step up. They get the clutch kicks from Cameron Dicker in the to end the fourth quarter and in overtime. And here we go. We get 4th and medium. The Chargers have the Colts right where the Chargers have the Eagles right where they want him, and Odafe Owe has his first encroachment neutral zone infraction, gives the Eagles a fresh set of downs, and I thought it was just game over right there. And yet, they flipped the script. What did you see from these LA Chargers pulling this game out late, again, 22-19 over the Philadelphia Eagles?
Somewhat of a defensive effort on the behalf of the Chargers to make the plays that they did. And that's what the game comes down to when, games are tight like this. Who's going to make the costly turnover, but more importantly, which defense is going to get the timely takeaway? And the fact that this game was really this close, I really found that hard to believe because I was thinking, how is it that Justin Herbert, 7 days after having surgery on his non-throwing hand, he was going to actually come back in the game and play with that hamburger helper type glove on his hand? Because I said, look, if I'm playing in the game, I'm punching that hand. I want to see how well that the surgeons did as far as stitching it up. And I believe there was an Eagles player that in fact punched at his hand, but it didn't seem to do anything to kind of disrupt Justin Herbert, but it kind of inspired him to move the ball down the field. And if I'm not mistaken, Justin Herbert was the Chargers' leading rusher.
Yes, he was. Definitely later on in the second half, too, he would just take the ball and tuck it. We saw, I believe it was 66 on the ground for Justin Herbert. Amarian Hampton comes back his first time in nearly 2 months. It's been 7 games coming off IR. He had that nice 18-yard rip there in fourth quarter to set up the kick, or I think that was even an overtime, and Kamani Vidal there as well. So between the two of them, almost 30 carries. Justin Herbert almost had a design like 10 times as well. So here's a team that tried to cater to that hand injury for Herbert. They ran the ball 40 times nearly compared to 26 pass attempts. So that's the kind of balance that Nick Ferguson likes to see. Beyond that, it's just about trying to make the fewest amount of mistakes. And again, 8 turnovers, the Eagles 5 and the Chargers 3.
Yeah, you know what, man? That's where we're getting to in the season, man. You can't really turn the ball over in tight games like this. So you got to tip your cap to the Chargers defense. I mean, and Coach Mentor, man, they did a great job in creating those turnovers. That last one, I know exactly what, Jalen Hurts was thinking. He thought he had the corner out, but the corner did a great job. And oftentimes we don't see the corner actually do it because I've been there before when my corner has sold me out trying to take the short route and leave me hanging on the corner route. But you could say, well, Jalen Hurts could have been better with that ball placement, and that would be something of question. But you got to tip your cap to the defensive guys for the Chargers once again. Tip ball, tips and overthrows, got to get those, and they made the right plays to help them win the game. So I believe they're now 9-5, still the number 2 team in the AFC West behind the Denver Broncos.
We'll get to your Broncos, 11-2, the Chargers 9-4. Quickly though, to wrap up, the 4 picks. Is this a referendum on Jalen Hurts? He had that nice throw to Devontae Smith before that final interception in OT, but clearly we're looking at Jalen Hurts' mistakes as, a reason why they lost this game.
No, I'm not going to look at it that way, because I'll say this. For at least 2 of the interceptions, you say the last one was a tip ball. And the one before that, great job by the D tackle dropping out right into that passing window. And I've seen that happen to a lot of quarterbacks. It's happened to Bo Nix. It's happened to Shedeur Sanders. It's happened to so many other quarterbacks. Jackson Dart, because you never really see that guy, because you never anticipate that guy dropping into that window. And I'll say not all interceptions are, in fact, created equal.
Well, he did have the distinction of becoming the first player in the modern NFL to have 2 turnovers on the same play, where he picked that ball off. Chargers recover. They force the fumble. He gets it. For whatever reason, both for the Chargers' sake and for Jalen Hurts there, not falling on the football, trying to make a play on a hand egg that is not bouncing as the way a round ball would. It's just kind of fascinating that, look, we're looking to play calling. We're looking to quarterback play. Defense had their issues. They did a much better against the run compared to, last Friday against the Bears. But the Eagles, we're not quite in Chiefs territory, and we're going to get to the rest of the AFC West. But the Eagles certainly struggling over the last couple of weeks. And again, that positivity bunny that lived inside that locker room, if we see it make a return for this week, they've got some serious issues, knowing that down the stretch it's going to get a little bit easier with your Raiders, the Commanders, and twice, and the Buffalo Bills in there as well. So they could easily take those 4 games, but they could have issues as well.
Well, even with all of that said, they're still on top of the NFC East, right?
Yeah. They're fine in the division. It's just the larger picture, right? The reigning Super Bowl champs, you look beyond winning a division. Am I right?
Well, yeah, you do, but you understand that coming off of a Super Bowl, your team is kind of beaten down and worn down and tired. And we saw that early in the season with the Philadelphia Eagles. For them, they just need to start trying to get better and fine-tune some of the kind of common issues. And obviously, you're going to give up some points. And I'm not going to be down on their defense tonight, or even the Eagles for that matter, because the idea is that we know this team still have championship pedigree. A couple of things they have to clean up, but they're still definitely in the mix. And I still would say that, they're one of the teams that you definitely don't want to face. But the big team in the NFC right now that you definitely don't want to face, that would be Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and the Los Angeles Rams.
Well, then let's talk about the Rams right now. 45-17. They had that setback against the Panthers a week ago, but they are your team to beat in the NFC. They're in the driver's seat as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, I definitely think that they are. Okay, well, once again, when you look at the Rams, are they a complete team? No, they're as close as you can get in the NFC. They have great skilled players. They have great play calling. They have a guy, you're talking about, Father Time, and Matthew Stafford, who continues to show. And remember, the guy started off the season with a back injury, and he's doing all this, and he's in the MVP conversation. And they got 2 decent running backs, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. So, yes, this is a team that that they can put up points, and albeit it was against Arizona, but you want to make sure that you have a showing, and you let people know if we need to get in a shootout, we can do that as well.
Right, even if the Cardinals weren't putting up, any numbers against them, like you said. But this is, look, they look to get big on offense behind that huge offensive line. They run 2-3 tight ends at you, and they find Puka Nacua, they find Blake Corum, Kyron Williams. Other guys are going to beat you, even if Devontae Adams doesn't get his in the end zone like we were used to.
Yeah.
Let's do this, Nick. You know what time of year it is. It is well into December. The lights are hung. The stockings are there. We're getting ready for Christmas. So I'm wondering, Nick Ferguson, can I call you Saint Nick the rest of the way? We've got plenty of games to look at in Week 14, and for some of these teams that we want great things for them, that maybe by Christmas morning they're not only clinched the playoff spot, but they're a true contender for the Super Bowl. Let's start with the LA Rams. St. Nick, what is on your wish list for these Rams as they continue to find their way and get into playoff form for the last 4 weeks of the season?
Well, the wish list for them, and I'm sure that they would agree with this, is being healthy, right? As long as they're healthy, they have a shot. If something happens, knock on wood, to Matthew Stafford, that derails any type of Super Bowl run. And when you look at some of the things that have happened throughout the year, they've had players on and off of the active list. So for them, it's definitely health.
We'll move on, Nick. Let's cover the rest of Week 14. We had some definitely interesting outcomes. I think one of the games we talked about the most going in was that battle for first place in the AFC North. Pittsburgh 27, Baltimore 22. Your wish list for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, as of right now, over 500, exactly where Mike Tomlin wants them, and maybe where fans who don't want to see Mike Tomlin don't want them to be right now.
Well, obviously, maybe unlike some other individuals, a la James Harrison and Big Ben Roethlisberger, I would like to see Mike Tomlin actually win enough games, not just to get into the playoffs, because that's been a staple of the Pittsburgh Steelers since he's been there. How about, getting to that second game in the playoffs? That would not only cement the fact that everything that we've seen thus far, the Pittsburgh Steelers, was somewhat of an anomaly or a speed bump. And Aaron Rodgers back in the postseason, how could you not like that? If he can have another game like he had against the Baltimore Ravens throughout these last couple of games, I say Pittsburgh is right there. And like that old movie, the fish that saved Pittsburgh, then Mike Tomlin's job is actually saved.
I might fish that saved Pittsburgh for VHS. That I hope that's under the Christmas tree for yours truly over here. Let's be honest. Coming into this game, my wish list for them was getting the deep ball back on the menu.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers at 42, man, there's no doubt that he can still sling the ball. So not being able to run it or play effective defense, it was great opportunistic defense. Huge sacks from Alex Highsmith, towards the to sort of wrap this game up. So if they can play their opportune defense and create those turnovers that, really what the Pittsburgh Steelers are paying for with the league's most expensive defense, that would kind of be great. And the deep balls, DK Metcalf getting involved, Calvin Austin as well. That is really what would make Pittsburgh an actual threat on offense instead of a fluke. The Baltimore Ravens, meanwhile, is it just as simple as Lamar Jackson to play like an MVP again? Is that what goes on the wish list, St. Nick?
Well, not just that. It's a combination of things. Can Lamar Jackson round into playoff MVP form? But more importantly, can the Ravens defense be anything like they once were when Ed Reed and all those guys were kind of roaming the middle of the field? Can they get back to that? Can they get to that Ray Lewis type of performance? And I'm not sure, but that's what we've known the Baltimore Ravens to be over the past couple of years, and they haven't been that defense over the past 3 seasons. So that would be on the wish list because I like, the bloody type nose, black and blue division type football, and I would love to see the Ravens in the playoffs.
I can't ask them to be one of the top 10 defenses of all time with, Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. But this defense with a lot of great parts, made an AFC championship run, like you said, 4 years ago, that, if somebody other than Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton can make a play, that secondary where they are just loaded with first-round picks, Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins and the rookie Malachi Stark, who I liked a ton. Really they could just be asking somebody other than Kyle Van Noy to make a play on defense. They'd be in a good spot, but something's off with Lamar. I mean, I know that he was battling injuries, but he looks like he's moving at 65, 70% speed, which, don't get me wrong, is still elite quarterback level, but nowhere near what we saw a couple years ago, even last year, carrying this offense and creating these huge plays that outside of, Zay Flowers, they can't likely do. And shout out Mark Andrews, by the way, a well-earned contract extension coming off that one catch for 9 yards. There's issues with that offense, Nick.
Well, I mean, you just said it. I mean, Lamar will never be what Lamar was 4 years ago. Just like every car, once you drive off the lot, it's going to depreciate. And with him doing just what Josh Allen is doing for the Buffalo Bills, trying to be the Superman, trying to carry the team, that's a heavy load to tow by yourself. And I don't know why, the Ravens have not really gone out to get him better receivers outside the numbers, because since they don't have those type of receivers, now you got to try to do everything yourself, man, and he's wearing himself down. It's like every time we see Lamar Jackson, the tread on the tires get smaller, smaller, and smaller.
That's totally fair. Out from the AFC North to the battle of the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars now in the driver's seat, 36-19 over the Colts. Your wish list for a Jags offense that really put it together in the rain. Trevor Lawrence with some really, really incredible throws. Brian Thomas getting involved with a one-handed catch himself. But Travis Etienne just carrying the load on offense. I mean, what is this wish list for this Jags defense that not only got it done offensively, but that defense continuing to force turnovers?
Well, the idea is for the Jags to continue to create more turnovers, not against the Denver Broncos, that is. You could do it before and you could do it after, not during that particular week. But that would be the wish list and the recipe for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember a couple of years ago when Blake Bortles was their quarterback, and we heard Saxonville, that was the big name back then. They'll never get back to that, but they still need to be a stout defense, continue to turn the ball over. And another wish to add on to that, if you want to say addendum, is Trevor Lawrence getting into the playoffs, because this was a guy as a first-round draft choice, and people were saying
number one.
He's got bust material written all over him, and I think he's been overly judged and overly criticized. So it'd be a great thing for his career and a boost of confidence if the Jags can definitely get into the playoffs.
Meanwhile, my wish list for the Indianapolis Colts is simple. Make sure 44-year-old Phillip Rivers gets a start. I mean, he comes in Monday. It's Monday night right now. Tuesday, he's going to work out for the team. Nothing would make me happier than to see him out there. Daniel Jones done with the torn Achilles. Riley Leonard, shout out Notre Dame Fighting Irish, left out of that college football playoff. Riley Leonard got them in the championship game last year, but he has a leg injury that might have him sidelined for Sunday. So Phillip Rivers, that's what I want right there for the Colts. That's the end of the list.
Well, today is Phillip Rivers' birthday.
Yes.
Yes.
What is your opinion, Nick? Working on your birthday, if you don't have to do it, why do it? Like, what's going on with Phil Rivers? He says, all right, Colts, you need me bad? I'm coming in tomorrow. I'm going to celebrate my birthday, because whenever it's my birthday, that means I get a minimum 11 gifts from each one of my children.
Well, I think it's a hell of a birthday gift. How many people at his age are being called back to play in the NFL, albeit at the quarterback position? I'm thinking about what kind of shape is he in, because he's been living that home life for so many months, and he's been coaching. So you got the home life and you got the coaching life. You know what that means? That's 20 more pounds, buddy, right? So he's going to make it easier for would-be tacklers to bring him down. But it would be a great story if he can come back and really kind of do something that he wasn't able to do in his career with the Chargers.
It's a little bit of hindsight here, but I think at the time, I think it's important to note that the Colts pushed all their chips in, and I wasn't even talking about injuries to Daniel Jones, but not having him under contract for next year was kind of a tough thing to scratch, where you're getting rid of next year's first-round pick to bring in Sauce Gardner. Now, with the torn Achilles, he may not be ready for the first half of next year. I'm wondering kind of where the Colts' outlook is, where You've got Jonathan Taylor. You've got, other weapons on offense, Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren, and obviously JT out of the backfield. And the defense itself, right? You're looking to build around, players like Sauce Gardner, and certainly, sign long-term to do so. So I just sort of wondered, Nick, like the future for the Colts, what exactly are we wishing for them? I mean, look, they could get a nice deal out of this with Daniel Jones. Like, if they want to stick together and keep the band, like, please stay with the team, rehab at our facility. Maybe they can save some money and work things out where he can sort of prove it again next year. But he was well on his way to earning, the kind of generational money that, few people get in this league, let alone 2 lucrative contract extensions.
Well, I said that my gift, my wish would be for Daniel Jones to have a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Get back to maybe 80% of what he was this past season. What the Colts realized is that, okay, well, bringing in Daniel Jones, that really changed the trajectory for their team until he got injured. Now, you still have Anthony Richardson, who is still there, that you can have in waiting while Daniel Jones gets himself back together. And listen, you're bringing in Phillip Rivers to kick the tires on him. If he seemed to look the part and he can go in and make plays, why not bring him back too as well until Daniel Jones actually is healthy? That's kind of the recipe. So I hope that the Colts fans don't start to think, okay, let's go draft another quarterback. Don't really do that to your team, because remember, you're nowhere near the first round because of the picks you gave up for Sauce Gardner. So this is where you are. You kind of made your bed. Now you have to lie in it.
Let's round out the AFC South with Sunday Night Football and the Houston Texans. They've rattled off 5 in a row, and they knock off the Chiefs 2010. I think my wish list is just that every team, gets some kind of warning that they're messing with the best defense in the NFL right now.
The best defense in the NFL.
Houston? Absolutely.
Head coach by my former Texans teammate, DeMeco Ryans. And I have to say, I am not surprised. What I would say as far as giving a gift, giving a gift of health for opposing quarterbacks who have to deal with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. I wish I can give you that gift, but that's not in the cards.
So they haven't lost. They were 3-5 when the Denver Broncos came in and beat them. What does this team look like since you saw them up close and personal?
A different team, obviously, sort of like the Denver Broncos, led by their defense. We've even seen Davis Mills come in and win football games as a backup quarterback. That tells you a lot. He held down the fort until C.J. Stroud actually came back. And I tell you this, Alex, if between now and the end of the season, if the Texans can muster somewhat of a decent running game, that makes this team one, if not the most dangerous team heading into the postseason.
That obvious wish list there. I mean, having Woody Marks there is heaven sent, frankly, spending the draft capital on him, but not having Joe Mixon, it looks like, for the entire season. Nick Chubb getting hurt this past game. That's really the missing piece. And I don't know where that's necessarily going to come from unless there's a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers type running back out there for them. It's just not. It's very hard to see that balanced offense. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, I wish them all the best, frankly. It just looks like I don't know where to go from here. I mean, Travis Kelce not catching the football, Rashee Rice getting lit up as well. What do you see, Nick?
They look tired, man. They look like a physically tired team and a mentally tired team. This is kind of the price of success, Alex. Everyone wants it, but they don't understand the cost that's associated with it. Because thinking about how many playoff appearances have the Chiefs appeared in, back to back to back to back years. Yes, you get the chance to say that, we won the AFC West. We've got a chance to advance in the playoffs. We've been to several Super Bowls, but that wears down your team because guess what? It puts a lot of stress on coaches. It puts a lot of stress on the players because your offseason isn't as long as other teams off seasons. But I dare to say that if you talk to anyone in Kansas City organization, they would tell you, they would be willing to do it all again if that meant as though they would have the Super Bowl appearances in the wins that they have. But right now they do look really tired. And it seems as though Travis Kelce, even though he says he's going to wait until March to tell the team what he's going to do as far as his future.
Yeah.
It seemed as though he had already decided that last year, but now he's starting to figure it out this year.
Does that include Andy Reid as well?
No, that doesn't include Andy Reid, because guess what? As a coach, you stand and you play design, you call plays. So Andy Reid isn't the issue with the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I didn't see Andy Reid dropping passes. I didn't see Andy Reid drop a pass right in Al Shazir's arms. I didn't see that. So until I see Andy Reid out there missing blocks, dropping passes, then Andy Reid is fine in my book.
I mean, careful what you wish for. They lose another tackle. I mean, Andy Reid might be next man up as they're dealing with, I believe, their 5th, 6th, and 7th tackles. We've done a lot of AFC here. We have to give our flowers to the NFC North battle and the Green Bay Packers 28-21 over the Chicago Bears. I mean, look, the Bears were coming in like an absolute freight train. We talked about their win against the Eagles. Meanwhile, Jordan Love playing through Toyotathon, just these incredible throws. And correct me if I'm wrong, Christian Watson, less than a year ago, torn ACL. He clocked one of the fastest miles per hour out of anybody in the National Football League this year. Just awesome stuff to see from this explosive Green Bay offense. Meanwhile, the defense, look, Caleb Williams is capable of these incredible Houdini-type escapes. He just makes a couple of plays almost every single game where the defense does everything right, but Caleb just flashes the ability that made him a number 1 overall pick. That Packers defense, despite what Caleb is capable of doing, I thought played lights out. Yeah,
that group is led by Jeff Hafley, a guy I worked for with the San Francisco 49ers. And you had to figure that they were going to put their best foot forward because they were still chasing the Bears, and they needed some way to balance the situation, and they were able to get it done. But I'll say this. What we're seeing from Caleb Williams was something that he was criticized for coming out of USC, and some NFL coaches call it backyard football, but I'd like to call it, here's a guy just kind of extending the pocket, making the play, and he had his team right there on the precipice because he was trying to go to the end zone to his tight end, but had he looked down to his right side, he would have seen DJ Moore coming open, a walk-in touchdown. But I don't blame him for that. You can't see everything on the field. And the Bears have definitely surpassed, no matter what happens this season, Alex, they've surpassed every expectations with the Caleb Williams in his second year and Ben Johnson in his first.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it took a few games, but this team has absolutely, look, if not for the New England Patriots, whose turnaround has been better, Ben Johnson, I think, would be a shoo-in for Coach of the Year, and this type of turnaround is unprecedented stuff. It's one thing when one organization is used to winning, but Chicago is not that. So it's just a bright spot to see, and a hard-fought division, where the Detroit Lions are on the outside looking in, despite how great they looked. Again, we talked Thursday Night Football, their victory against the Dallas Cowboys. If you want to check that on the most recent episode of those guys, he's Nick Ferguson. I'm Alex Hardy. We're putting a bow on Week 14, preparing for Week 15. Look, we hit on the best matchup out of the NFC. Meanwhile, we had 2 absolute blowouts, but I don't think we need to talk about Minnesota-Washington for the time being. Nah. So the Seattle Seahawks, 37-9 over the Falcons. I just want to put a bow on your wish list for what Seattle has to do, because at 10-3, they look absolutely dominant.
Well, the wish list for, the Seattle Seahawks is keep winning. Because this was one of my teams during the preseason that I actually chose to win the NFC. And they've been so up and down from game to game that you don't really know which team is going to stand up. So for them, it would be more consistency. Just be more consistent with the dubs. How about that?
I'll take it. Again, Denver Broncos, I wish that they could be able to cover against the Las Vegas Raiders. That's what I wish for. Is Pete Carroll doing the football play here? I'm not going to give in to the NFL sponsored by FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever because it was an 8.5-point spread and they kick on 1st and 10, down 10. But it was a little suspect just from a football procedural standpoint. Here's my theory.
Okay.
Pete Carroll needs to see that special teams unit. They are playing for their jobs. Pete Carroll as well. So let's just make sure that we can put some points on the board, make it not look you can't call that a double-digit loss. And meanwhile, we can see how the long snapper and the kick protection team looks.
Well, hold on for a second. I mean, look, I'm not a Raiders fan, but I don't blame Pete Carroll for, kicking the field goal. And I'm not going to say because they were in Vegas, they were trying to keep the under over the way that it needed to be, but the objective is to score points. Why put yourself in a position where you can get points and not take a shot? I mean,
the answer is too little too late, my friend.
Well, no, it's never too little too late. As long as there's seconds on the clock, you try to put points on the board. Why do you think when we see where teams closing the half or the end of games, there's a Hail Mary pass? The chances of you completing that Hail Mary pass, the percentages are pretty low, but that doesn't stop them from trying to attempt it. So I'm all okay with Pete Carroll trying to kick the field goal.
Denver Broncos, meanwhile. St. Nick, your final wish list.
Oh, my final wish list is for the Denver Broncos to continue to be effective with the play calling and effective production when it comes to running the freaking ball. And not just running the ball against the Raiders because that was expected, but can you run it against other premier teams because you play the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. You will have to face the Jacksonville Jaguars, Kansas City on Christmas, and rounding out the season with Kansas City. So I want to see a consistent, commitment to running the ball, but not just running the ball, but running well. Yes, that is what I want to check off my wish list.
You can follow him at Nick Ferguson _25. Make sure you reach out with your wish list because, of course, St. Nick will be gracing our presence come December 25th. His presence is my present. I'm Alex Hardy. You can find us YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back following Thursday Night Football. We got a spicy NFC South battle, the Bucs and the Falcons, which, granted, I've seen Kirk Cousins play the football game for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about Baker. Let's just put it that way. I mean, selfishly, for my own wish list, could Drake London not only show up but play well for a quarterback not named Michael Penix? Honestly, who knows? So until then, Nick Ferguson, we're on out of here. What do you have to say to the people?
Hey, man, don't give Santa those damn cookies with raisins in them, right? Santa's diabetic.
The raisins are health. They're nature's fruit, my man. That's the healthiest part of the cookie. A good oatmeal raisin cookie is nothing to be upset about. But I know Santa well. He deals with chocolate chips.
Yes. Make sure it's, homemade and not that store-bought crap.
Oh, bougie Santa. Here we go, St. Nick.